What's up everyone, Art from GrimmSpeed, and I thought I would sit down for a moment and give you a bit of a pre-introduction to the introduction of my employee build series on this Forester you see behind me. Now, 2020 has been a crazy year, that goes without saying, not just for myself and GrimmSpeed, I'm sure for everyone out there and the aftermarket industry as a whole. So we've seen a bunch of ups and downs, and with that, motivation to work on a project like this has kind of came and went throughout the year. So I started 2020 out strong by filming some footage on this car and kind of getting prepared for an employee build, but then it got so overwhelmingly busy at work that it kind of took a back seat to some of the stuff we were doing. Late nights, working weekends, trying to get a bunch of orders out, new products, and really the uncertainty of what was going to happen to the industry with COVID. Now, I'm happy to say that it went the opposite way of what we were expecting. We thought there was going to be a bit of a recession with people not wanting to spend money on aftermarket parts, and I'm happy to say it went the completely other way, and there was a boom in modifying cars, which was really good for us, obviously. So that meant we've been busy throughout the year, and now that we're getting to sort of the tail end of 2020, can put that behind us, there's a lot of optimism coming into the next year. It means we have some of these off months to recoup and build into the next season, and it means that we have something to look forward to in the 21 car season, events and shows, and actually getting to see your car friends, hanging out with them face to face, maybe even without a mask. That might be hoping for too much right now. But what that means for me is I really want to get this employee build series going. So some of the footage you're going to see is a little bit older in the first couple of episodes, but then I really start ramping up into doing a lot of modifying on this Forester. I'm giving myself a bit of a timeline. About May or June of 21 is when I want to have this thing complete to its next phase and be able to go to some of those events that are going to be hopefully opening up. So I want you guys to enjoy this build series. Please do me a favor, like the videos, share them as much as you can, especially my Forester friends out there. Subscribe to our page, and the more excitement we get about this kind of thing, A, the more motivation it's going to give me, and B, the more incentive it's going to give GrimmSpeed to do more of these employee builds and show off what we're doing day to day outside of what we do normally for the business. So with that, I want to pour a drink that I think is very appropriate for this build of Old Forester bourbon, delicious stuff, and I want to toast to the end of 2020, which is in about 15 days from now, and to a successful build series on my Forester. So thank you guys for watching. Check out the first episode coming up in just a couple of seconds, and enjoy. What's up everyone, Art from GrimmSpeed, and if you've watched our videos over the last couple years, I'm probably a familiar face to you. What might not be as familiar is exactly where we're at right now. Now, typically we do most of our footage at the GrimmSpeed warehouse. It's really spacious, it's got a lift, and obviously all the parts and tools you pretty much need to build whatever project you're working on. Some of the stuff we do in terms of videos are employee builds. Those have been really popular for us. They get a lot of views when we put them up on our YouTube channel. So we always want to continue doing more of those. We'll typically bring a car in, we'll put it up on our lift, and over a few days or weeks, we'll modify it and put that content out for you guys to just enjoy and learn from. So we're going to be doing another one, and that's my employee build, but we're going to be doing it a little bit differently. We're taking it back down to a grassroots level. After all, GrimmSpeed is a grassroots company. We started with Justin Grimm out in his garage, porting and polishing things, modifying his own cars, and then he brought friends in along with him over the years, and it's grown into a massive company. But we still have that kind of enthusiast mindset, and most of our employees have projects at home. And so that's what we kind of want to show, where we're modifying our cars mostly, and where you guys are going to be modifying your cars too, which is your garage. Now in this case, this is my garage. Now it doesn't look necessarily grassroots right now. That's because I put in a lot of hard work to make it this way. I actually just finished up with it. So I will go over and give you a little tour and show you how it was. I probably have some old footage of exactly how this garage started. And the whole grassroots angle of this is It really took a lot of time to make this place exactly what you might call my dream garage or shop. And you guys can do the same thing, especially if you have the opportunity to be able to tackle something like that. Hopefully I inspire you a little bit to go after it, because it took me years to turn it into this place. But enough of that. How about I give you a little bit of a tour around this place? Maybe Clinton, our editor, can do it in a crib style fashion, because I'm old like that and I would love to see it. Afterwards, we're gonna show you the car that we're gonna be working on. Those of you that know me probably know which car I'm talking about. For those who don't, I'm gonna keep it a little bit of a secret till the video goes on and you'll find out. Hopefully it's something cool. Now that you've seen this place, how about we bring in the car we're gonna be working on? Let's start with a breakdown of exactly what this is for those of you who don't know. It's a 2004 Forester XT. Now that, I believe, is the only generation that came with the turbocharger and manual options here in the United States, and I think it's the best looking body style. A lot of my Forester friends on social media might argue that, but the 0405 I think is the best one that came in. Now this one is obviously far from stock. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a rundown on exactly what I've got, kind of in a general sense, and then once we start tackling things like the suspension and the engine and the wheels and interior and all that stuff, I'll kind of go further into exactly what I've done already and where we're gonna go from here. So let's take a look starting from the front. All right, so in the front, you're gonna see a lot of mismatching items. There is a reason for that. So this has a JDM front end. It's got the headlight trim, the grille, the bumper, and the lip here from a JDM Forester, as well as a scoop that's a little bit bigger that we didn't get here. So it makes the front end look more aggressive. Obviously, it will get paint eventually. I'm still trying to figure out if this is the front end I'm gonna go with or do something a little bit different. I've got some other ideas. So moving on down the car, the wheels are kind of the next big thing you see. These are work VSKFs. There's something that you don't generally see on a Subaru. Usually you see it on like stance builds or show car builds. They're a 3-piece wheel. I was lucky enough to find it in a 5x100 bolt pattern, so it fits up nicely. I ended up taking them apart, rebuilding them, and powdering them with this kind of silver gunmetal flake, which looks really cool, especially in the sun. So these are 18 by 9.5 with a +11 offset. And behind them, you'll see, it's kind of hard to miss, this big Cadillac ATS Brembo. So I've converted the brakes over. You can see in the rear is a WRX Limited 2-pot brake setup as well. And there's a bunch of stuff behind it. We'll go over that when I talk about suspension. You can see that I've deleted the roof rails here, but haven't actually filled them in just yet. It's been on my to-do list, but I think once we get to the exterior portion of the build, we'll be tackling that. And then moving down, you can see a lot of the body style I took from the drift culture. So things like Ganador mirrors, they're kind of a love or hate type thing. I've got some nice side skirts here and things like the wings back here. You'll see a mid-wing, that's JDM mid-wing, USDM top wing. These were an OEM option on some USDM Foresters, not this one. I ended up adding this on, and I think I'm gonna go with a larger spoiler for the build. I do have the mid spoiler as well. This wasn't something that we got here. I actually had to have this one custom molded into mine, but it looks a lot better. Usually it's just a big plastic strip there. And then a 0207 WRX style diffuser. I've got some tips that you might see on a drift car, things like that. So definitely a lot of inspiration taken from the drift community, which I'm a part of. You can see my other actual drift car, the 91 Toyota Cressida over here. We can potentially cover that later if anyone has any interest in it, but these are my two big projects, so they kind of influenced each other. So why don't we check out the interior next? Now, the interior isn't as exciting as the exterior. It's definitely a lot more dirty in here because I haven't had a chance to clean, but there are a couple cool features. The Sibon seats are probably the biggest thing. These are the Kevlar carbon back, so really nice back here, and they actually fit my skinny-ish frame. They're some of the most comfortable seats that I've driven in. So the other big things are STI wheel here. I might switch this out with kind of a race wheel. I have a bunch of gauges, my AEM stuff up here, and then down here, another AEM AFR, and my Z-Tronics gauge telling me what grade of ethanol I'm running. And then, of course, the JDM flower shift knob, which I absolutely love these. They're great to drive with. So the exterior and the interior are going to definitely take a lot of work, but I think a lot of my efforts are going to be aimed at the engine bay. So here we have the engine. It doesn't look like much, especially because it's dirty from all the drywall dust that I haven't had a chance to clean. It pretty much looks like a dirty factory motor, but looks can be deceiving, and in this case they are. This is actually a fully built motor. It's got Darton sleeves, it's got Manley pistons and rods, fully built heads, pretty much every bolt-on you can throw on it, and in there is a stock location Garrett turbo. So I want to be making right around 500 horsepower. We're going to see if we can push it that far. The internal setup is rated to go all the way up to 750 and even beyond. So we should be able to handle it just fine, but there are a lot of things we need to do to get there. So things like a reverse manifold, potentially a front mount intercooler. I'm going to be planning that out here shortly, but it's definitely not going to look like this. This is one of the biggest things I want to tackle in this build is the engine. I don't want to pop the hood and have it look like this. I want it to be impressive. Especially like some of the builds I see out on Instagram. There's so many cool things out there that I'm taking cues from, and a lot of it will end up in here. Now, behind this is a STI 6-speed, which is an absolutely awesome transmission. If you have the opportunity to swap one in a car that doesn't have it, please do it. It makes the driving experience so much better. Awesome transmission, and in my case, it's a little bit more unique because it is sending power to the rear wheels. This has been a rear-wheel drive converted. It's hard to tell from under here, but if you look on my Instagram page, you'll see probably some burnout videos or some little drift stuff. I just did that because I thought it would be a lot of fun, and I had all of the drivetrain stuff out at the same time, so why not convert it? So I ended up getting a rear-wheel drive spool from PPG, did some gearing stuff to match, and then I swapped all of the stuff in the back to STI, so the R180 diff, solid bushings, drive shaft shop axles, and carbon fiber drive shaft from them as well. And you guys will get to see a lot of that stuff once I get it up in the air, but trust me, it's pretty exciting under there, lots of stuff. That's a really quick breakdown of what this car is all about. I mean, there's so much more. I've had this for probably 5 or 6 years now, so it's gone through a lot of stages and it's changed a lot, and I think this is sort of the next step for me, is to evolve it into what it's going to become this season, which more power, some stronger components, a little bit more attention to detail, especially with exterior stuff. Those are kind of some of the things that I've got in my mind. Now, the beauty of a build like this is I'm not constrained by anything really. I mean, finances, obviously, just to a degree, but I can decide what I'm going to be doing with this car, and it's going to be changing. Some of the stuff I have on my mind now for the exterior and the engine, I'm sure in a month's time will change. So your guys' input would be absolutely valued. So comment on the video and let me know what you want to see, maybe what you don't want to see, and what you think is cool about this car. That'd be kind of nice to hear, get some motivation going. And I think the first place we're going to start is getting this up in the air. We're going to take the wheels off, look at the suspension, and then really start pre-planning what we're doing for the exterior, the engine, the interior, the underside of the car, and start building it from there. So the next couple of months should be a lot of fun, should be a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights, but at least it's going to be a blast. I already know that, and it's going to be the next stage for this car, which I've been waiting for a long time. So thank you guys for tuning into the first episode, and hopefully you're there for the second and beyond. Bye.